Right, this week I have something for you guys that I think I've known about for a while, and I know a few of you told me about this controller a few times, but I just hadn't made any move to cover it until today, when I actually stumbled upon it again and it reminded me of it. And that's a controller specifically built to work with a game called Arkanoid. What's Arkanoid? How did it play like? And why would you need a controller just for it? Well, these are all good questions, and we should get into that today as we talk about the Vaus Controller, also known as the Arkanoid controller. So grab a drink and sit back down as we dig into this thing for a little while. Now, to understand this controller, we first need to understand the game it was made for and why it was so key to the gameplay experience. Some of you already know this, so bear with me a bit, but Arkanoid is a brick-breaking game that came out in 1986. What is a brick-breaking game, you ask? Well, simply put, you break bricks. No, I'm not being snarky. I mean, I am most of the time, but not right now. Literally, the idea of the game was to break through a wall of bricks using a ball and a paddle system, one of the earliest ones of these being Breakout, where the wall was meant to represent a prison wall that you would break through to escape. Arkanoid took this and moved it into a different tact. In this game, you're a ship called Vaus, which ejected from a spacecraft called Arkanoid, in order to defend it from a mysterious entity known as Doe. No, not Homer Simpson Doe, just DOH. The objective was similar to Breakout. You need to break the blocks down. Some take more hits than one, some only take one, and some will drop power-ups that you can use to slow down the ball, give extra lives, and more. Once the brick pattern is taken care of, the player would move to the next level, 33 in most versions of the game, 36 in total on the NES version, with the last stage being taking down the game's boss, Doe himself, on the last level. This was a hugely successful game in the arcade, so it was kind of natural that this would eventually be ported to consoles, but left them with a problem. You see, this game didn't actually use a standard control scheme. Instead, it opted for a dial-like device, or a spinner if you will. This allowed for very fine control of the ship during gameplay. Spinning it slowly would allow you a more controlled manner of movement. If you moved it faster, it would basically move you much faster across the screen, obviously. This would also affect the physics of the ball when you connected to it, sending it back either slower or faster, depending on how fast you connected with it at any given angle and the speed of the ball itself. The cabinet also had two buttons on it, one on the left and one on the right, so that left and right-handed players could easily play the game. The button's purpose was pretty simple, either launch or capture the ball, assuming you had the right power-up to allow you to actually catch the ball. It's this very type of control mechanism that made it hard to translate to modern consoles at the time. And it's also for this reason that Arkanoid actually came packed in with what's known as the Vaus Controller. And I know what you're asking, why do you need a special controller for this again? Well, if you were listening from above, that's exactly why, just for the reasons stated above. You see, standard D-pad is great, but it'll only move things at a very specific speed. It has no input to allow adjustment in how fast you want to move. So, having this controller allowed you to vary the speed, leaving you with a closer to arcade feel, and make it so they didn't have to adjust the game mechanics for the console itself. This controller actually had a dial at the bottom which would only move 180 degrees rather than the full 360 in the arcade, but that was plenty enough to get you from one side of the screen to the other in short order. Also, just like the arcade, the button on the top was allowed you to pitch and catch the ball. It was a simple and effective solution to translating the game to a console from, well, the arcade. However, now that you guys know a little bit more about this little controller, what do you think about it and how it worked? Did any of you have Arkanoid for the NES, and if so, did you get it aftermarket without the controller, or did your copy come with it? And how well did it work on replicating that arcade experience? And also, what other games do you think this little controller could have worked really well for? Let me know in the comments. While you're there, if you could, leave this video a like. And if you haven't, consider following the channel. That helps me out a ton. Till we meet again though, have a great rest of your day, and happy gaming.